John Lennon was a part of the biggest boy band to ever exist.
No, he wasn't. I'm sick of people saying that the Beatles was a boy band. You know what all three of these blokes have in common that the Beatles don't? All three of these blokes doesn't play instruments because boy bands don't play instruments. They usually does vocals and a few dance routines. Boy bands don't have a drummer because they're usually aesthetically pleasing to their young female audience mostly. That's what it is. They usually have videos that is heavily funded and they came from the 1980s and 90s. Hell, the Beatles is older than the term boy band, so that proves my point. I'm just sick of people saying that bullshit.
He was known and often praised for many things alongside his extremely popular music, most notably his peace activism, his hippie image, and his centricity, especially when it came to his relationships.
By centricity, you mean overall selfishness? Yes, this is a man who left his first wife for Yoko Ono, then left Yoko Ono for about 18 months for another Asian woman he fell in love with. He had yellow fever real bad. But people might criticize him for leaving Yoko Ono. Now, if he criticized or get criticized for leaving his first wife, I understand. But Yoko Ono only got him because he was a cheater. So when you lie in bed with the lion, you should expect some scars from his nails, or her nails, I should say. So yeah, Yoko Ono married a cheater and she got what she deserved, in my personal opinion. But go on.
His immense popularity from being in the Beatles and his premature death cemented him as a well beloved legend. But behind the peace sign John often represented, he was no angel. In a 1980 interview with Playboy, he said, "All that I used to be cruel to my woman, I beat her and kept her apart from things that she loved, was me. I used to be cruel to my woman, and physically, any woman, I was a hitter. I couldn't express myself and I hit. I fought men and I hit women." He later elaborates that his abuse towards women motivated his peace activism, going on to say, "That is why I'm always on about peace. You see, it is most violent people who go on for love and peace. Everything's the opposite, but I sincerely believe in love and peace. I am not violent man who has learned not to be violent and regrets his violence. I will have to be a lot older before I can face in public how I treated women as a youngster."
Now, I was about to comment on how he only mentioned that his violence towards women caused his peace activism, even though he had violence towards men, and how the narrator kind of looked over that. But to be fair, John Lennon did only mention his violence towards women, which makes me think, wait, who's more of a bigger simp or sap or cuck, John Lennon or the pretty much announcer or whatever talking about his violence towards women? But if he was only violent towards men, do you think that he would actually like say something? Probably not.
He was not only abusive to women, but abusive to his own son, Julian.
Are you talking about abusive as in he didn't see his son, or abuses as in he physically abused his son? Because, not being in your son's life is a form of abuse, I would think. But that said, would you say that women who give up their children for, I don't know, adoption is a form of abuse, or just women who leave their child with the father without a care in the world of seeing them, with no regular visitation at all, missing years of their life?
Julian growing up was often jealous of the love that Sean, John's son with Yoko Ono, received. Mom was more about love than dad. He sang about it, he spoke about it, but he never really gave it, at least not to me as his son. John even went on to confess that Julian was born from a bottle of whiskey. I'm not going to lie to Julian. 90% of the people on this planet, especially in the West, were born out of a bottle of whiskey on a Saturday night and there was no intent to have children.
To be fair, he had no intent of having Julian, and I'm pretty sure if John somehow or some way he was pregnant, he would probably maybe even abort the kid, which is something that 9 out of 10 times you would probably support in some way or form. And it was a child mentally raising a child, and he was very selfish and he admitted it. So, yes, it was a child raising a child, and he did mishandle. I mean, nobody's a perfect parent as a teenager or in their 20s.
John would reportedly degrade, scream, and even sometimes hit his son before he had dropped out of his son's life to attend to his family he had created with Yoko Ono, with young Julian going on to be the inspiration behind the classic song we know as Hey Jude.
I'm sorry, if the most heinous crimes you can actually muster up is this guy got yelled and screamed at and a little bit of an ass whooping, I have to say I was an abused child. And I know today a father can only see his kid like once or 2 times a week, give or take. So I don't know back then, maybe the laws were much more strengthened for towards the women since it was very conservative. But hey, he was a very selfish man, and maybe he had problems with the mother. That's why he more or less wanted Julian to stay with the mom.
I think it's safe to say we'd all like to imagine John Lennon lived up to what he heavily represented. But behind the smoke and mirrors and legendary status, John was a hypocrite and abuser.
Abuser, yes. Hypocrite, no. How was he a hypocrite? During the peacetime of his life, he wasn't violent. He actually became peaceful because he was so violent. He realized his wrongs and decided to do right. That's not hypocrisy. That's improving as a person. I hate people who use the term, well, not hate. I strongly dislike people who use the term hypocrisy wrong. It shows their low intellect and low IQ. Please like, subscribe to the video, and I am out, guys. Check.